Hello everyone, welcome to a figure tutorial. Today I'm going to be covering how you can go about removing the head underneath the helmet. This will end up giving you something like this, and hopefully not too damaged. On mine the back is a little bit kind of dirty from the pliers I used, but overall you should get a pretty good head that you could even repaint if you wanted to, and also keep minimal damage to the helmet. This one on the right is the one that I have already worked on. This one has no head underneath the helmet, is fully articulated, can move around, has its own joint in there that I made myself. I'm going to show you to do that using this guy, who I have not yet touched. He is fresh. He has kind of a messy frown. We're going to fix that too. And of course, he has a head underneath. This one's actually a pretty good figure for all things considered. When I got that guy, he looked absolutely awful. This one doesn't look too bad, but just to show you guys how to do it, I was going to use this guy, and hey, I can always use another unpainted head, right? So let's move over. I just want to say really quickly before you do this, this is like a super advanced thing right here. Like, I literally thought that I was going to ruin these multiple times while I was doing this. Attempt this at your own risk, because anytime you bring an X-Acto knife and boiling water, things are bound to go wrong. So what I would say is just be very careful, and I would only really do this if you really know what you're doing, because otherwise there's a very high chance that you might end up ruining your figures, which I almost did, to be honest. So keep that in mind when you do this. Honestly, if you get one of these ones with a really messed up helmet, you're almost better off just returning it, to be honest. I mean, really, it's at that point you're just better off returning it and hoping you get one with a good helmet. So hopefully if you guys are able to do this, it helps you guys out, but just keep in mind this is pretty advanced, and like, even when I was doing this, I thought I was going to mess this up. So hope it helps, and here comes the video. Alright, so let's briefly go over everything you're going to need to do this. First of all, you're going to need a brand new Stormtrooper figure with a little head underneath. There we go. I like to use something like this just to keep the helmet in when I boil water. You're going to need some pliers to ply the head out, paper towel to make sure you don't boil your hands, you're getting them burnt. Some Q-tips, this is for removing some of the paint mishaps on the figure's helmet, and acetone-based nail polish. Now if you can, I highly recommend getting some. You can check the back without any sort of pigmentation and dye in it. I think this one has a little bit, but it worked fine on my first one, so just if you can, I would try and get non-dyed ones. So when you look at the ingredients label, you want to make sure it doesn't say things like red or yellow, or just straight like acetone pretty much. This is 98%, it'll work just fine. 100% will work too. This is a 000 minimum thickness paintbrush. This is awesome to fix some of the paint mistakes and some black paint. I always use Vallejo Air. Now to make the joint in the head, we're going to use a hot glue gun and Vaseline. So let's move over to the stove. Alright, so to prep the workspace, you want to lay out some paper towel. This is so you can immediately dry the figure once it comes off and not burn your hands. And you also want to take the figure, just grab him by his helmet and rip it off. It's pretty easy. There's like no resistance. And then once you have that off, now you can just go ahead and throw this into the pot once it's boiling. But for now we're going to let it wait. You can move this out of the way. Here we have the helmet, we have what we're going to use to dunk the helmet in the water, and we have the pliers, which we will use to pry the head underneath out. Our goal, once we get out the first time, is going to be remove this neck joint, and then that will allow us to get a good grip on the pliers to just rip this head out and reshape the helmet. And now we wait. Alright, so the water's gotten pretty warm, so now we can go ahead and throw the head in to remove this neck joint. Just got to put it in that little hole and put it right there. This makes sure that the helmet will not touch like the rim of the pot, which can, as long as it's underwater it's fine, but if it's over water then it'll melt the plastic. And I have burnt a trooper one time like that, and it was really sad. So keeping it here will make sure it does not burn at all. It'll be perfectly fine and won't damage the paint. Gonna leave this guy in for probably about 20 seconds. We just pull him out and remove that neck joint. Biggest thing is don't touch this with your hands or else you might burn yourself, which isn't great. You want to take it straight to the paper towel. Okay, that should be good. Paper towel. Just gonna dry them off, and then this should come out. Just use this instead. Easy. There we go. And now, see the head gets nice and squishy. Now we can go ahead and throw this guy back in. Now this, I would say to leave this guy in here for about 45 seconds to a minute. Longer than you normally would. Normally only like 30 seconds. But this head is tough to get out. It is a pain. So we're just leave him in there, let him do his thing, and we'll pull him out. You do have to be quick once you go and remove this helmet, because if you take too long, the plastic will harden and the glue will harden and it'll be a pain to get out. But if you do it quickly, it'll work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the helmet out, put it on the paper, dry it real quick, and then we're going to grab it with the paper towel and then yank it out with this. I'll show you again once I get there. Alright, so let's do it. Bring him out on a paper towel, get the water out. Now you want to get some paper towel for yourself. Grab the helmet like that so you don't burn your hands. And now where you're going to put the pliers, you see that little joint right there? You're going to put one inside the joint and one behind the head. And then just pull. If you don't get the first time, just throw it back in. Which I did not. What I like to kind of do is unroll the helmet, kind of like that. Oops, let's see if I get the focus. Unroll it like that, and then you can just use an X-Acto knife to cut along the back of the base where the glue is. That's the best thing I've found so far. Fortunately, acetone didn't melt the glue like I had hoped it would, so. Making some progress here. Just gotta do a little bit more cutting. Be careful not to cut the helmet, of course. It's almost out. Look at that. And it's off. I was going to put this back in the water. Just pop it back. There we go. Give it another dunk. Alright, so here is how the helmet came out afterwards. Oops, not super bad. It didn't come out quite as good as my other one. There was a little bit of on the back here, so I can get focused. There's kind of some scratch paint right there, which happens when you bend it and cut it. So boiling it has no issue, but bending and cutting it. Otherwise, I'm very happy with how it turned out. I mean, the shape is now perfect. It just needs some paint cleanup, like on the brow. And we're going to have to use some acetone to fix this frown from the default one, and I want to use some paint to fix this black line here. But overall, the shape looks awesome. Now for the head, a little less sad. It didn't come out as good. The front of it looks fine. Let's see if we can get that in focus. The front of it looks fine. However, the back of it, unfortunately, is pretty damaged, just due to the glue they use is really strong. So what I would just use for this is just some green stuff. You can just use green stuff to fix in his head, and that can work. It's just the paint in the back of the head is so strong. You almost might want to use some sort of solvent to dissolve it, but I couldn't figure out a way to do that, so I just brute forced it with an X-Acto knife. Luckily, the helmet is still fine, so this is what I really wanted to get after. I can't even paint faces, so I don't know what I'm going to do with this. However, we are now going to go and clean up this Stormtrooper helmet and make it look perfect. So let's go do it. Alright, so now you want to go ahead and plug in your hot glue gun, put that aside, and next you want to attach the neck you removed earlier back onto the trooper. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to look on the neck. There's one area that's there's kind of ridges on it, but then there's one area that is sort of flat. That's because it's supposed to be hidden. The flat piece goes in the back, and the area with the ridges, that's the front of the neck. So just line that up and reattach it. I would just run this under hot water for like a couple seconds, and you can just pop it back on. So I'm going to do that real quick. Be right back. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do to clean up this helmet is we're going to use some of the nail polish remover, which I've poured into here, to fix up the frown, because the frown is not great. We're just going to dunk a little bit of a Q-tip in there, dab it off to get most of it off, and you're just going to go along the edge of the mouth and get rid of some of that excess paint that spilled over. You can tell it's working because we picked up some black paint on our Q-tip there, and the frown is looking a lot cleaner now, so let's do another one. Alright, and now we have a much cleaner frown. Next thing I'm going to clean up my left one got a little messed up, my left blue grill, so I'm going to pour a little bit of, this is 71.266 dark blue. I'm going to pour a little bit of that. Then we're going to get my trusty 000 thickness brush. Just get a little bit of this. We're just going to go where the paint got a little messed up. If there's a little bit of overflow, you can just scratch it off. Perfect. That's taken care of. Now we're going to take care of the brow. So the brow on mine's a little bit misaligned, so we're just going to paint over that. That's too easy. Just going to get a little bit of black, put that down. And we will just get a little less paint. It's already looking pretty good. And there we go. Black brow is painted. So there's a little bit of spillage here, that's no problem. If you have any paint run on these guys, you can really just get some nail polish remover and just clean that up. No stress. Okay, now I'm going to paint this little side cap. We're going to use 71.047 gray. A little bit of that. Alright, now we're just going to clean up a little bit of this back one that I messed up. Alright, that's pretty good. I think that's about all we're going to do. Might just clean up some little paint overflows here and there. But overall, it's looking pretty good. See if I can't. Yeah. Perfect. Now to fit it. Alright, so the neck is now in place. We have our helmet. The next step is to get some Vaseline, and you're just going to rub this on the ball joint of the neck so that the hot glue does not adhere to it. So just got a little bit, you can put on your finger, right there. That's all it is. Doesn't need to be super thick, it can be kind of thin. Just make sure it's entirely covered. And I like to cover the neck joint as well just to be safe. So the thing is that this ball joint is actually really high up in the head, so you don't actually have to fill it too much. I would say if you fill it to like around the black line with hot glue, you're gonna be fine. Maybe a little more, maybe like the end of the eyes. Oops. Alright, so now once you have it all Vaselined up, nice thin layer, you can go ahead and start to see how much you need to fill up the bucket with hot glue to make the joint. I would say you kind of want to fill it up just about right below the eyelid right there. That is a good sort of area that you could do, because if you put too much, you're going to lose a little bit of articulation. The first guy I definitely put way too much on, so he can kind of just, I mean, it still moves fine, it's just he's a little bit hindered because I put way too much hot glue in it. So let's do it. As a benchmark for this guy, you can see you kind of want to make sure that there's some space in between the bottom of the cheeks and the shoulders, and then also you want to try and line up this sort of, you're going to try and line up, let me get a pointer out here. You want to line up this sort of like groove area in the helmet with the tip of the strap on the front, and that'll give you a good idea of how to do it. And before you even put the helmet on, make sure that your neck peg is straight up and it's not like bent or anything like that, which will give it weird articulation. Just make sure it's straight up in the air, just like that. That's perfect. Alright, so we have our hot glue gun on high setting, and we're just going to go ahead and start. Alright, that should be enough. Now quickly we are just going to dunk it in. Oops. Not quite enough hot glue, that's fine, we can just do it again. And dunk it again. Pull these strings out. Okay, so kind of hold it there with your hands until it dries. Make sure that the helmet is lying flat in the middle. Check it from the side, make sure the side alignment looks good. You can switch it over, check the front. Alright, so we now have two very good looking Stormtroopers with fully articulated helmets. This is the one I did yesterday, and this is the one I did today. And as you can see, both of them have nice, wonderful working helmets, but most importantly, they look good. They don't look smushed. They look perfect. And you also have two heads as well. I guess you could paint them or do something with. I'm probably not going to do anything with these. But as you can see, like the one I did last night didn't have too much glue on it. This one had a ton of glue on it. So depending on what you get a different experience. So just keep that in mind when you do this. Yeah. So hopefully this tutorial helped you guys out and was able to give you guys some good looking Stormtroopers that didn't look like the B-movie winking face, because that is disappointing from Hasbro. Alright, catch you guys next time. Peace.